it's Liv. Today we're going to talk about poetry, which I'm so excited for. I love poetry. It's really made me into the person that I am today. So I'm just going to show you guys some of the poetry books that I read. I read a lot of these books. Actually, I read all of them last year in 2017, but they're not dated or anything. You can go check them out. You can get them probably at the library, maybe. But I got most, if not all of them. I'm pretty sure I got all of them just from Chapters. You can just go to your local bookstore and I'm sure they'll be there. I hope this video is helpful for you guys if you are starting to get into poetry or if you are into poetry already. So now let's just get into what I've been reading in 2017. So I'm going to start with this one. This is probably one of the more well-known ones that I'm going to be talking about today. It's called The Sun and Her Flowers by Ruby Kaur. She's a great Canadian author. This book is the second one that she's written and published. The first book that she wrote and published was Milk and Honey, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. And if you read it and you liked it, I would definitely suggest checking this one out too. It's pretty much the same kind of style and concept. When I read poetry, I like to pick out the things that really relate to me or resonate with me. And I also write poetry in the book based on what I've read. If it makes me, feel a certain way, I just feel like it's a good trick to help you kind of become a better writer and expand the topics that you're writing on. You can see I've just totally highlighted, taken out passages, written my own stuff all over it. Where Milk and Honey dealt more so with overcoming traumatic experiences and love and losing love and finding self-love, this deals a lot with family life and immigration. I found this one harder to relate to because some of the topics she was talking about I've never experienced, but it definitely helped me to find some kind of perspective on those experiences. So in a way, it helped me to gain appreciation for what she went through and for the experiences that so many people go through, all through this singular art form, which I think is just so amazing. But that being said, it also deals with the topic of love and self-love and some of the stuff that Milk and Honey dealt with as well, actually a lot of it. So if you like Milk and Honey, I would definitely recommend getting the second book, even if you never read Milk and Honey, but maybe you kind of relate to a lot of those topics or you want to get to know about those topics. An artistic perspective on those would be a really great way to begin. So I really recommend this book. Like I said, I got it from Chapters. It was $20 and I'm pretty sure that's what I paid for it Canadian, so American might be a little bit less, I'm not really sure, but I really recommend that you guys go check this out. While we're on the topic of Milk and Honey, I picked out this book because the cover kind of reminded me of Milk and Honey and the content inside was sort of written like Milk and Honey. So this book is called The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace. It says the story of a princess turned damsel turned queen, and this is pretty much just about self-love and really finding yourself, figuring yourself out, learning how to be without other people and just complete yourself, especially if you've lost love. And I think that's a really important topic, especially because I know that's something that I struggled with, whenever those breakups occur and things aren't so great. It's really important to remember that you can be complete within yourself and you don't need anyone else. So like I mentioned, it's the same kind of poetry and prose idea of Milk and Honey. They're little short poems and they deal with different things. This is another one that I've written a lot in. I feel like this book really helped me to learn to be kind of balanced within myself and to be happier with myself, and I think that's so important. So if you're having trouble with that, or maybe you're working on that yourself, I definitely recommend picking up this book as well. This book is $15 American, so in Canada it's $22, which is what I paid for it. I just got this at Chapters, like I mentioned. I loved this book. I gave it to my best friend to read. She loved this book. I just think it's amazing. I think you guys should check it out. The next book I read was called Neon Soul. It's by Alexandra L. This one deals a lot with love as well, as do most of the books I read. If you haven't caught on, that's probably one of my favorite things to read about, one of my favorite themes. I think it's so relatable, and I think it's important to find books about what you relate to. So I really recommend this book if we kind of have the same taste in writing and literature. There's not so much highlighted. I mean, there's enough highlighted in this book, so obviously I did relate to it quite a bit. I also wrote quite a bit in the pages. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that page is just covered in writing. But I found that the stuff I was writing was not as strong as some of the stuff I had written in the other books, and I'm not sure if that's a reflection on the book itself or the style of writing, or maybe it could just be me. It probably is just me. It's definitely a very good book if you enjoyed the other two. If you enjoy this kind of writing as well, I really recommend this one. I think it's important to read books by authors who aren't as well known. For example, Ruby Kaur, obviously so many people know her. Milk and Honey is such a huge sensation. but not a lot of people know who Alexandra Elle is or know of her other works, if I'm not even like sure if she has any. This is the first book I've ever read by her. This is the first time I've ever even heard of her, so I'm not really sure if there are other works, but I think if there are, they would definitely be worth checking out as well, just based on this. So it's definitely important to support smaller, lesser known authors, which is what I always try to do. If I like a book in the store, I'll usually pick it up even if I don't know who it's by. I just think that especially if you're just getting into poetry, this would be a great book for you to start with. It's not too thick, it's not too thin, it'll give you a good taste for the kind of language used and the kind of structures used. So that is Neon Soul by Alexandra Elle. It was $16.99 US, so I paid $22 for it Canada, just like the other one. That seems to be the general price range. So if you want to buy these books, just know that you're looking at between $20 and $25, usually at the most. So this next one I'm going to talk about is by the same publishing company as Neon Soul, but it's not the same author. This is by Clementine Vaughan. I hope I'm saying that right. It's called Mouthful of Forevers. I actually found out about this author from YouTube. I watched her perform one of her poems. It was called Advice for Teenage Girls or something like that, and I loved it. It was just so inspirational. It's a very empowering poem. So I picked this book up because when I saw it in the bookstore, I saw the name and I thought that this book must be as powerful and moving as that poem was. If you guys have never heard that poem, I definitely encourage you to check it out. The poem is actually in here somewhere. A lot of the poems in this book are a bit longer. They're usually 2 to 4 page spreads. Most of them are 2, some of them are 3, which are longer than typical poetry and prose books that you will pick up in the store. But even though they're longer, some are shorter, they're just as powerful. So really, it's up to you. It really depends what you prefer to read. Those little 4 or 5 line poems or 4 or 5 page poems. So it's really all personal preference. I think that it's good to read a variety and to pick up a little bit of both. If you're a writer, it can definitely help you to expand your structure, the way you format your writing, the kind of language you use. Overall, it can really influence the way you write. So if you want to become a writer, I think that it's good to start somewhere, and somewhere would be reading a lot of poetry. I paid $16.99 US for this, which is $20 Canada. I just got this at Chapters. And again, this is a really quick read. It's really thin. You can make notes of the things that you like in it, as I did. You can also find her on YouTube. A good idea for finding poets that you really like is to go on YouTube. That's how I found a lot of my favorite poets. You just have to watch a bunch of spoken words and just find the ones that really stand out to you and resonate with you, and then just look up that artist and just keep watching videos from them. At least that's how I found my favorite ones. On the topic of my favorite poets, my next book is Our Numbered Days by Neil Hilborn. I absolutely adored this book, but I'm a little bit biased because I love Neil Hilborn more than I love myself. His poetry is entertaining, it's heartbreaking, it really makes you feel, it's moving, it can be uplifting, it can be tragic. I love his poetry. He's another one that I found online. His poem went viral about having OCD. I'm pretty sure it's just called OCD if you guys want to go check it out. It's so life-changing. The way that he speaks and the way that he writes is just insane. I honestly see him as one of my biggest influences in my writing. Even though a lot of his poems are longer and a lot of mine are not so long, I find that since I started reading his, I started writing longer works than what I was writing before, which I think is a really big improvement for me. And we all know that art is always about improving and growing, so it's always a good thing. You can see obviously that I've highlighted, I've written so much. This book is tragic and it's beautiful. It's about breakups, it's about love. I'm literally at a loss for words when it comes to this man. He's an amazing poet, he's an amazing writer, he's an amazing performer, he's just so strong, he's so wonderful. I just think you guys need to read this. It's so thin, look how thin it is, it's just worth it. I'm waiting for another Neil Hilborn book. I think this book is relatively older though. I don't think it was published recently. Yeah, it's from 2015, so it's not old, but it's like 3 years ago now. I paid $20.95 Canadian for this. It's only $16 in America. It's so worth it. If there's one thing from this whole list of books that you guys read, it should be this book. It should be Our Numbered Days. It's incredible. It's just life-changing. You have to read it. It's just so good. And that's pretty much it for all the books that I read in 2017, or all the poetry books at least, because obviously I did read quite a few novels in 2017 as well, which I can do a whole separate video on. I really enjoy doing like little literature kind of videos for you guys, so I'm definitely going to try to do more of those, maybe like a book recommendation list or something, or my favorite books that I've ever read. But that's it for now. I'll just give you guys a little bonus. This is what I'm reading right now. It's called Depression and Other Magic Tricks by Sabrina Benaim, who's actually part of the same poetry company as Neil Hilborn. It's called Button Poetry, so if you guys ever need somewhere to really start on your poetic journey, I recommend looking up Button Poetry because a lot of the artists that are with them are so phenomenal. I watch them all the time. It's just never boring. They cover such a wide variety of topics. There's something for everyone. Poetry is so amazing. It's just crazy. But this is another one with longer poems. It's definitely a bit of a different structural format than the other books I've read, which I'm still trying to get used to. You can see that this one is just, I hope you can see it, it's just straight all the way down the page, and I'm definitely trying to get used to it. I like this one, I do. She's another poet that I found on the internet, like I mentioned. I found her because of her poem. It was called Explaining My Depression to My Mother, a Conversation, I think. It's in this book as well. So if you guys want to check that video out, you can go ahead and do that. She has so many poems on YouTube. They're just so worth checking out. They're all so amazing. She's entertaining. She's so moving in the way she speaks. And you can tell that it's from experience and she really means it. And I think that's one of the most important things about sharing your writing. It's definitely a very genuine book. So I think that you guys should check this one out too. I included this because I started it in 2017. I haven't finished it yet because I've had so much going on and I'm so ashamed of myself. But my bookmark's literally like not even halfway through yet. It's not even halfway through. I'm not even halfway through it yet, and I hate myself for it. But hopefully I will get this done soon because it is a very good book. I'm just so busy. And yeah, like I mentioned, that's it. That's all the poetry that I read in 2017. Hopefully at the end of 2018 I will have a similar kind of video for you because I am reading Depression and Other Magic Tricks, and I've got a few poetry books and novels lined up to be read after that. But until then, I will keep you guys updated with different book releases and favorite book videos. If you like these videos, let me know and just leave me a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments if you've read any good poetry that you think I should read or that other people should read, and I will definitely check those out. I think that it's so interesting to see what other people enjoy reading because it definitely tells you a lot about that person. A lot of people don't understand it. Like, people just think books are lame, but books are not lame, guys. It's so cool to be reading. It's so fun to be transcended into a whole nother world. I just think that's so amazing that books have the power to do that to people. So yes, like I said, just leave me a comment below. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know what I should read. Let me know what kind of book videos you want, if any, and I will definitely do those for you guys. And until the next video, I will see you later. Bye!